get started. Now I'm making this costume out of some reused clothes. I've got a purple long sleeve adult top and a pink t-shirt that fits the child and a black piece of fabric. It's actually the bottom of a dress that I've cut. So starting with a pair of tights that fit the child, we're going to use this as a template. So fold the top in half and the tights in half and cut around, leaving about 1 centimeter for sewing. Or you can make a template from paper and we're going to lay that straight onto the top, front and back, and cut it out. This way is a bit more precise. Okay, to sew with the right sides together, we're just going to sew down the front and back crotch seams, which are these two that I'm showing you. Okay, then we're going to unfold the tights and place the front and back seams together so we can sew the inner leg. So you can see how this starts to look like a pair of tights now. And you're just going to sew all of that inner leg. Now for the elastic, you just need to measure the waist of the child and cut a piece of elastic and sew it together into a ring. And then we're going to sew it all the way around the top edge of the tights, and then we're going to fold that down and sew in place. And they're done. So these are essentially the legs of Vampirina, because she is a purple vampire. Now onto the top. Now with the top was easy enough because I already had a pink short sleeve shirt and all we need to do is add the purple sleeve. So I'm just going to measure the length I need from the original shirt sleeves and just going to cut, adding an extra centimeter or 2 for sewing. So I'm going to actually tighten the sleeve so it's not so baggy because it's supposed to be her arm. And then we're just going to sew down the edge and then sew it into the sleeve. And that's it, done. Moving on to the dress. So I've got 2 pieces of black fabric here, folded in half, and we're just going to cut down on an angle from the top to bottom. And then at the top, we're going to cut out a rounded corner. So that's going to be where this arm is going to be. And I've actually had to add an extra bit at the front because it's a bit short. And we're going to make 2 straps as well and attach them. Now the front of the dress I need to split into 4 equal sections so that we can cut the Batwing pattern at the bottom. Now this is the fun part, painting the spiderweb pattern. So I'm just using a piece of cardboard to just help me make a straight line. So I tried first with purple fabric paint, but once it started drying, you just couldn't see it. So I've actually gone ahead and done it with a silver fabric texture, as you can see. So I've done the 3 lines in the middle, and then just done the spiderweb pattern all the way around. And at the end, I actually went over it with a bit of purple nail polish, so it looks purple. The headband. So I've sketched a rough pattern of her ears and we're going to cut out 2 pieces on our black foam or felt. For a simple headband you could just stop here, otherwise you're going to need 2 more pieces. Now these 2 pieces we're still going to cut from foam or the felt. This is essentially her hairline, so you could just paint your forehead down to a point on your nose in black, but I've made it out of the foam. Now we just need to sew along this top edge and then we're going to flip that over. Moving on to the ears again, we're going to hot glue gun those balloon sticks. This is just going to help it stand out stiff on her head so it doesn't flop over. And we're just going to cover that blue with some black paper or thin card. Anything black really, you could even use some of the foam if you have some left over. And that's going to help us also attach it to the actual headband. So this is where you need to attach the pink elastics. Don't forget that, because that's a very important touch. Now with the extra length of the black card in the background, I'm just going to glue that, find the right spot on the headband, and that's the part that's actually going to fold around and glue onto the headband. So you can just pull the elastics down now into place, and then we're going to glue on the hairline. So mine was a little bit wide, so I'm just cutting it down a little bit, and we're just literally going to glue it with the hot glue gun from one side to the other. I actually started in the middle just to make sure it was perfectly centered. The necklace. So I've just made a little skull pattern, and I'm just going to cut a piece out of our extra foam. So in the top part, we're just going to make 2 slits to pass our cord through. So be really, really careful, because, well, this was foam, so it broke very easily. Maybe if you're using the felt, it would be a little bit more resistant, but just make them a bit lower, I guess, would be the best way to go. Now I'm using a shoelace for the cord, just because I like the fact that it has the plastic ends. So pass the cord through very carefully. I'd get probably to halfway and then pass it through the other hole. Mine did break, so I did have to make another little hole and pass it through again. So I put it through the 2 holes just so it sits nice and flat. As you can see, the skull isn't going to be flipping around as it would if there was only 1 hole. Okay, so to make this a very easy adjustable necklace, we're just going to make a knot on either side. So with the end, we're going to tie a knot onto the cord, and then on the other side with the other end, we're going to tie another knot onto the other cord. And that's just going to make it easy to adjust, tighten and loosen the size of your necklace. Okay, so if you pull on the necklace, it will loosen, and if you pull on the ends, it will tighten. Onto the gloves. So we're just going to start by tracing the child's hand, and to make a pattern for our gloves, we're going to need 4 pieces. Now it's very important that you use a 4-way stretch, so a lycra. I didn't actually have 4-way stretch, but which is fine. So I've cut the thumb with the stretch to go around it, but you would have to make it a little bit bigger. This is the blue. We're just going to cut that into 2 centimeter strips. This is going to be the points of the fingers, the tips of the fingers. Now because I had to cut it in 2 pieces, I've got to sew them back on. So just sewing on, I've got 4 pieces here, sewing each thumb back onto the rest of the hand. And actually, if I did it again, I would make the pinky also separate if you don't have 4-way stretch, because it was a little bit tight. So with your blue lycra strips, we're going to fold them in half and add them to the tips of the fingers. Now this is very tedious work, and it did get stuck in my machine a few times, so it is a bit of a hassle. It might have been easier just to paint the tips with a bit of dark blue fabric paint. Now with right sides together, we're going to sew all the way around, obviously not the hole where your fingers are going to pass through, around the whole gloves. As you can see, I ended up cutting off the blue tips because it was just too tight because I didn't use Lycra. Last step, the shoes. So I have these really cool black boots which were perfect. Now I've taken out the original laces and I've got some purple laces here, and I'm passing through the bottom, so we need to make 2 X's. So I've actually passed it through underneath the tongue of the shoe so we can only see the X. As you can see, I've used in the first hole, the 4th hole and the 3rd hole.